Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Decisions Lunch and Learn. I'm going to be your host for today, Gregory Goldston, on Monday, June the 2nd. As always, please check out our Decisions Support YouTube channel. We do post videos there pretty regularly, and we got a lot of cool stuff going on, such as let me pull it up on my end, actually, so that I can tell y'all what's going on over there, okay? But I know that we have a bunch of different JSON-like stat, um, oh, oh, that's fun. Looks like it's gonna force me to sign in real quick to get to there. Don't mind it, me. But we do have a bunch of different steps there, different videos there, such as Excel conversion steps, authentication and decisions, high performing impacts implications. So if you're trying to build something out and you want to be aware of some of the tools that could impact performance if used improperly, or maybe more performant alternatives. We have videos covering those. There's a lot of good stuff. We have a new one on the Apache module, which I highly recommend checking out. So yeah, give it a look. Got a lot of cool stuff there. The next thing is that our solutions marketplace, we still have different accelerators that you can pull from, bring into your environment, test around with, reverse engineer, integrate into your own after some testing. It's a good place to be able to get some pre-built projects that you can bring in, take a look at how it works, build your own environment or your own project based off of it, or maybe even just integrate it into your own. And then we have the product roadmap review where you can sign up for decisions.com/events to attend that and see what's coming down the pipeline. What's new this time is just like last week, we had a special guest that was presenting, and this week is going to be Josh Lax from the product team that's going to be giving an overview of the AI roadmap in Decisions. I admittedly don't know a lot about what that's going to look like yet, so I'm going to be curious to learn about that with y'all. So please take a look on Thursday for that presentation. And I think with that being said, I'm going to move over to my decisions environment now, and I will start taking questions in the QA. So y'all can start posting them. Let me move over there. Give me a moment. And there we go. All right, here I am inside of my Decisions 9.11 environment. This has been released, by the way, so feel free to upgrade to this. You got some new stuff going on here. Oh, pardon me, I'm trying to bring up the Q&A and all that stuff. For example, the way the Flow Designer works has been overhauled completely. So let's go with my flow. You'll notice this grid layout in the background. The first thing this does is look at this. Anytime you're trying to get those straight lines with those steps now, it's going to be a lot easier to achieve that. But on top of that, you now have a more structured display for putting in new flow steps into the designer and working with them. Another thing that's going to help with crowding, and this might be best with a string match step to demonstrate this. Let me remove this one. You'll also notice if you hover over a line, there are only two icons now, not those other four ones that you had to go in and work with before. You click on the line, you can edit it, you can delete it with the delete button, and then I can add a step on that by just clicking the little plus button right here. But first, let me show this functionality. So, if you were to have a step that was taking in multiple inputs, usually the way that you'd space it out is you would put maybe one at the top, one here, one below. Maybe it's getting a little crowded, so one at the corner now, and then you see where this is going. You have steps that are going, you have different flow connectors that are going to start overlapping each other, and it makes viewing the flow a little bit confusing at times. So, the way that this has been enhanced in Decisions version 9.11 is watch what happens when I place two flow connectors in the same side. It's going to move out of the way to make space for both. Same thing goes with 3, with 4. Oh, I connected that in the corner. With 4, with 5. And let's say no matches goes to the end step. So I'm going to move that over here. Now you have very clear visuals on where these steps are connecting into the next step, where these connectors are being placed into the step. And this is going to not just apply to your normal steps, but that also goes for end steps. So if I were to plug this into the end right here, now you can clearly see where your inputs are coming from into those end steps. So nice little UI update there to assist with your designing. We've also changed the size of some steps, and you'll probably notice the color, right? So different types of steps have their own types of colors. That's not a new thing in decisions, but we've expanded the color palette for what colors are going to be displayed. So I can drag over, email is going to be blue as well, but then I can drag over show form will be yellow, show pop-up is probably blue or white. Yeah, it is blue. Fetch entities is a cyan. So you can see how we have a lot of different coloration, but we have more uniformity when it comes to the actual step sizes and them matching with each other. You can see all these step sizes are the same. Run subflow used to be a little bit bigger. It's now the same size as these other steps. Another thing that's been enhanced is the debugger for actually working with these. So if I go into the debug right here, and then I click on options, in sampling mode, you can now specify how many samples you want to run in your debugger at once. Will this UI update be retroactively updated with our current flows? Yes, Grant. Other flows are going to be updated with this UI update upon upgrade. You will also see in the logs where those updates are recorded. So you can see every single update that was made to your flow when upgrading. And here, let me unmute you if you had any clarification on that. I don't know if you wanted to ask more, but let me at least give you the opportunity. So yeah, that is going to change the way. Yeah, glad to hear it. There's another thing with the debugger, but I have to give you inputs first. So I'll call this one input 1, and I'll call this one input 2. All right, we'll save that. So when I go to the debugger, I now have this little toggle switch. So without me trying to like get rid of inputs for this thing or setting inputs as null per se, or by not including anything in it, I can now just turn off inputs and not use that input in my debugger at all for a given debug session. So I can choose how I want to debug this, what inputs I want to utilize with just the click of a button. Those are the main upgrades to the Flow Designer. There have been a lot more updates as well, still inside of Decisions version 9.11. And I should mention, I'm just here to talk about this until you guys present a question. If you have a QA question, please drop it in. I'm ready to answer those. Okay, I'm going to exit out of this because there are some new things. Actually, there's another thing I can show off in here. This is actually a new step. So, are you familiar with Parquet files? We have different Parquet files and so a Parquet file is similar to a CSV type format where it stores data in an organized way. The way that stores data is in columns, and the important thing to know about Parquet files is they are very lightweight, where you can store millions of records in relatively a small space, like even kilobytes in some cases. So again, very compact way to store data. This is not a decisions thing. However, decisions now has the ability to interact with Parquet files through two different steps, the list to Parquet and the Parquet deserialize. So with the Parquet deserialize, if I were to specify the type I want to deserialize into, and then pass in my Parquet file of type file data, my output is going to be a list of that object that I select. List of string isn't going to work necessarily unless your Parquet file's, designed for that. But you specify the type, it outputs it there, and now you have a list object that you can work with in decisions from that inputted Parquet file. This is the converse. It takes a list of decisions type of a particular type. I specify what properties I want to include on this, the file name that it will be converting it to, and then I specify the input list, right? So this is the type, this is what it's going to actually try to match up to, and then the input list is the actual data that you pass in. And it will output a Parquet file of type file reference that you can then pass along through the flow, have someone download later down the line, however you wish to use it. So these steps work as converses of each other. But you may be wondering, how do you get an object in Parquet? Well, there's always the chance to create it from scratch, but Decisions has also been updated with the capability to let you create it dynamically from the create types in Parquet. You can upload a Parquet file here, which will create the template. You put the structure name. I'm just going to call this recipes output. You drag in the Parquet file, and as soon as you hit create, it creates the decision structure of that Parquet type that you can then utilize inside of these conversion steps. So this is a new feature to Decisions version 9.11. Also, Vitali, was it you that was asking about GraphQL? Because Decisions can integrate with GraphQL now. It is under integrations, external services, add a GraphQL service. You can specify the service name, the service URL, add the scalar types, add additional headers to that call if you want to, and then you got to authorize it. So all of our ways to do that here. Once you create it, you can then utilize those services as decisions steps inside of your flow to make outbound calls to that GraphQL service and perform the action that the flow step will accomplish. So this is also a new feature to Decisions version 9.11. And I will go over the last new feature now, but in order to do this, I should say this is not the last update in version 9.11. This is just the last straight up new feature. We have a bunch of other enhancements. So, pardon me while I go to the form designer. And I know I've shown this one off before, but I don't think we have all the same people in the call, so I thought I'd do it again. If I have a form control that takes in data, such as a number box or text box, if I drag that over, you'll see there are two sets of data that's asking for up here. One data name for the actual form control itself, and one for a label. So let's say I want to make this a name. It will auto-populate the label right here, and as soon as I hit enter, it's going to automatically create a label for me that is attached to that form control. Pretty nice, right? So let's say I want to do it with a number box. All right, and I'll call this age. I have the ability to hit shift and enter and slide that label to the left. Now, you can change where this label is by going over here and saying placement top, left, right, or bottom. But those are just the quick controls to get a label on there, and then you can change it from here. So left and top are both just quick toggles. Right and bottom, go in here, change the properties if you want the label there. So this is new to Decisions version 9.11 as well. There will be more updates coming to the form that you can expect to see in the future. But for Decisions version 9.11, this is how things are functioning now. Okay, I've spent about 15 minutes doing all the talking. If anyone has any questions, I am all ears, truly. Feel free to put them into the Q&A. I'll be glad to address them. I guess in the meantime, I can discuss some further updates in this newer version while we are waiting. So, if you have worked with the X12 module, and you know what? I actually need to declare that as a dependency so I can show y'all. Give me just a moment. Configuration, dependencies, and I'm going to pick the X12 mod. I'm also going to pick the AI common module because that got an update too. But first, I'm going to show off the X12 module. All right. Data interchange format. Oh, pardon me for a moment. Oh, Jeffrey, I see you got a question. Let me let you talk real quick. What you got?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're good.
I have a question unrelated to this.
Yes.
So I have a case entity, and someone has updated the folder extension data on it. So they've updated the created by field. I would
Okay.
I would like to change that. So pull in that case entity and change that value in the folder extension. I've tried doing it with like an update entity step. Um, and it seemed to update it in the database, but it didn't reflect in our UI when we were pulling it in. So I feel like I've done it the wrong way. But just wondered if you might be able to show me the best way to update like the created by field on a folder extension for a case entity.
I see. I do have a quick question on that. So, how did it get updated in the first place? Like, how did it get changed?
Well, it wasn't a mistake. They created so a record was created, and what they did was they populated a case entity, and then they as part of creating the record, they populated the extended folder properties.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to do is they've done the create part of it. I would like to do the edit part where I go in and change those values. That,
Okay. Let me
that may
see.
be frowned upon. I don't know, but I just wondered if you had some input on that.
It's not ideal. There are ways to do it. That's not the question. I'm trying to think of the best way to do it. Yeah, that's where I'm kind of struggling is what is the best way to accomplish this? Because you could, of course, just run a query on that table, the element registration, perform a decisions restart, and then ta-da is going to be updated. But I don't know if that's the best approach to brute force it like that. So let's see here. Let me create it and we will go from there. All right. So let me go to my user defined types, case entity, test, create this. And you said you used the edit case and that was not functioning.
Um, it didn't. I mean, I tried it with the update entities step.
Update
Um,
entities. Okay. Okay.
so
Let
that
me
may not have been the right way to do it, but
let me try it this way real quick. All right. So we'll go in here. Let's go favorite color. We'll go with olive and then we'll pick name. I'll just put my name in here. Folder description doesn't matter. Folder name kind of does matter. Color tracker, I don't know. We'll do something like that. And then parent folder ID, gonna kind of need that. Um, I should probably make a non-root folder. Give me just a moment. It's just better practice to do it this way. So right click, create folder, put entities here. Create that. Now let's go back into my flow here. Pick that as my parent folder. Where did you go? Ah, perfect. All right. We're going to run this once. All right. Flow ended. That's good. Now, if we go out, we should see the case entity right in here. Put entities here, color tracker. And it's, let's see. If we go in here, you're looking for changing this.
I think so. Yeah, it's a create in the database. It's created underscore by.
Create under by. Perfect. Perfect. I get what you're saying. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So let's go in here. Let's go into the same one. And we are going to reroute this. Now, this one already is looking for this particular type. Now, we do have to pass in the extension data. So let's grab a fetch. I'm going to fetch the entities. Normally, you'd put a filter on it, but considering I only have one here, that isn't going to be an issue. Pick that. And then I'm just going to pass in flow data, entity results, just the first one, because I know I only have one anyway. For description, I don't care. Oh. It has occurred to me that I actually need to build data on this because I want to fetch the folder ID from my results first, entity ID, and then folder name. I'm gonna ignore that. I don't want to update that. So let's go in here. I'm gonna leave name blank and then favorite color. Let's put this to cobalt instead. Maybe I want a bit of a darker color that I like. Now let's try this. We're gonna run this in the debugger. We're gonna make sure everything functions as we expect. Input, output. We put in this data right here. There's our input. Our output isn't going to have anything. It's just going to say done. But let's go back and see if we have edited something that is superficial first, and then we're going to edit one of the core things. We're going to make sure that this functions as we expect, and then we'll go and try and edit one of the other things. So if we go in here, oh, wrong one. So if we go in here, yes, it has updated the name, but it did
Yeah,
not
we
update this. I
we
see.
found that out as well. It does update the name, and we had to be careful because it changes that folder name.
Because it's probably a selective update as compared to. All right, so I actually may want selective update rather than edit. So let me try that real
Is this a
quick.
folder extension? Oh,
Yes.
case editing? Oh, okay.
Yeah, let me drag this over. There's a results path, data, and then inputs. Let's see if we can do it right here. So we will need to ignore favorite color, ignore name. It is, ooh, oh, this is not going to give us options to created by because I guess it's
Yeah, that we ran into that as well. We couldn't get to the folder extensions.
I see. Okay. And then entity ID will just come from test results first. Entity ID has to know which one to update. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's because since it's a folder extension, it's leveraging decisions folder native data type. And so in order to update that created by, you would have to fetch the folder data type, and then you filter on all folders that are of the type, whatever your type is. Like we have an application in our developer course called I9 application. So just for sake of example, you would have to fetch by the folder type, and then there is an extension type below that. Go up above for me,
Yeah,
Gregory. And then you have to say whatever for example, this one's test, but you would do your folder and then that one. And then when you fetch this, you can go ahead and just remove that step, Gregory,
you
and
got it.
just debug this. And what you'll see here is you should have two. So there's entity results. So this is of the type, the Monday lunch and learn test folder behavior.
Mhm.
And then if you scroll down, and now you'll have the created by field. So now, one of the easiest ways that we do this, Gregory, if you can close this window, is let's say I want to update one field, which is kind of like where you're at. And let me know if this is a little bit different. But how I would approach this is you can have this create data step or some step that just creates the variable that you want. And let's say you want to change it to yeah, just drag a create data step and just create an update and just call this variable updated value or something, right?
That'll be string. Yep.
Yep. And go ahead and set it to your email address, so like gregory@decisions.com or any new email address. And so what this allows us to do, Jeff, is it allows us to fetch the data so we have the data of all the folders that are of that type. That's why we use this term extension data. And there's a great video on extension data on our YouTube channel. I'll go ahead and find that and post it in the chat for us. That kind of talks about this concept here of extension data. And the reason why I bring it up is when you're in situations like this where you're like, hey, I need to update this field, but I can't find that field. Why do I not find that field in my data? That's because decisions leverages some of the native types and combines your fields with the native decisions types. And so all that means is you just have to know which type to fetch to get the property you want to update. So I put that YouTube video so you can watch later. But yeah, what you'll do next here, is Gregory's already got it, is you would then on the output of this create data step, you can say change value. And then you can drill down into, in this case, we have our entity results. So you can go down to first or make the entity results output the first value just to so we can demonstrate like the mapping thing.
I see.
Um, and so all you have to do is scroll down. There should be show output for one result. That one.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go. And that's already connected to connected to it. Perfect. And so then when you go to the outputs, um, on that one, you'll see that now you can drill down into that folder, and then you'll have access to the created by, and then you can pick it. And so now what that's going to do, it's going to take the current email address of admin. It's going to update it to Gregory. But you'll notice here that it still hasn't saved that information to the database. It's still going to be just admin in the database. But right now, because we've pulled it in the Flow Designer, you can see it confirmed that change. So now commonly what people do now to get that change now written to the database is we just add a save entity step after this. And then all you have to do is just say save entities of your type folder, and you can just say folder for this, and then you pass in that individual record or item that you have yep, perfect, and the entity result, and then click done. And so now if Gregory ran this, it will change that created by field to be something different. So go ahead, run it, boom, no issues there. And then now if we go ahead and if you can display that value for confirmation, Gregory, that'd be great. And so now, so that won't be there. Run a query, just in the open the query editor and just
Oh, wrong one. I'm so used to
I do that too
so.
all the time. I go to the folder,
Yeah.
just right click anywhere now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotcha. Old V8 habits.
And so let's see. So that should change the value, and since we saved it, that should have that Gregory value to it. And then equals then Gregory at decision.com. And then let's go ahead and run that. And boom, there's that record. So that would be how we handle that. Does that seem like that would handle your situation, Jeff?
Well, it does. That was different than how we handled it, and it looks like it might work. But I was able to change the created by in the entity folder table. The problem was that when I tried to view it in our UI, it was still pulling back the old value. So it's
Hmm.
almost like there's a cache out there that didn't get updated or something.
Hmm.
That's kind of where I got stuck.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's. I heard something about updating element registration and restarting, which sounds like it might be a very big deal. Um,
Yeah. So so when you did the update, did you just like run an update like update set where query in like a raw SQL step inside of
no,
decisions
no,
to?
no. It wasn't inside the query editor. It was an update entities step inside of Flow.
Oh, interesting. I'm wondering if that
But
doesn't. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
What I'm wondering is, it could be. Can you go back into the flow designer, Gregory?
Absolutely.
Sometimes with how decisions works is there's this. You have the front end web application, then you have a database, and in between them is an ORM layer or
Mhm.
object relational
Yep,
mapper,
yep.
and there's a cache there. Now there is a step. Can you top left clear? It was like clear ORM cache or something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Oh, I think I've
about.
seen that.
Yeah, there you go. And so what you can do is whatever your type is, you would type your type in here. And then what that does is it clears that ORM cache. And then the next time any step fetches the entity, it will actually pull from the database to get that updated value. So it could be possible that maybe in your flow, you'd have to say, okay, update the change and then clear the cache so that, and then pull the data again to confirm. And that would be the way you can kind of work through those issues when you have the database has one thing and the web app says something different. It's usually just that cache needs to be cleared from it.
Didn't work for folder. Let me try test.
It didn't work. What do you mean?
It didn't work for folder to update it when I selected the folder. Oh, didn't work for test
No,
either.
I think it's a different field. I don't know if that's
Oh, you don't
related.
think that's created by?
I don't think that's created by.
Okay,
I'm not
that's what
sure what
he's looking
field.
to.
Is that what you're looking for to update that thing right there?
I'm trying to update created by.
Yeah. Okay.
Not sure where that I don't know how to view that from in here. We can see it in our list of things when we go to the same type of page, but
Okay. So submitted by is not what you're trying to update or change, right?
yeah, it's created by.
Okay. Yeah. So then,
So
yeah, that wouldn't
Okay.
touch that. I'm not sure what that field is, but the ORM cache wouldn't touch that.
Okay. Okay. So, so I just need to, if you go back, could you please go back to that flow? I just make sure I
Absolutely.
understand. So I would need to fetch entities of that type, um, which would be a folder, and then the extension would be the case entity that I created. Uh, Pull in a create data step, change the created by for that folder extension,
Hmm.
um, and then run the yeah, okay, and then run the what was the last piece? Save entity step. So folder, and just use folder as the type.
What version of decisions are you running?
9.7 right now.
Okay. Because I was gonna say we can export you this flow. I'll export it locally because I'm not sure because I know Gregory's in 9.11. I'm still in a lower version, but we can export this flow to you and send it so you can at least see that.
Okay.
Um, the kind of how we built it, and we'll clean it up so it's not, a lot of steps, and we can add some annotations to the flow so you can know why we used what we used.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
One last thing, the type name, I changed it to your type, but it should be of the type folder if that's what you're looking to update as to created by. Just a heads up here for
Okay.
clearing that cache.
Okay. Thank you again.
Yeah, we're glad to assist. Okay, I have not seen anything else enter the Q&A. I think my laptop screen froze. Hold on. Yeah, I'm not able to see it.
Well, I actually can ask another question really quick.
Of course. Yeah, what
Um,
you got?
we're here. This is kind of a mad scientist kind of a question. Um, I installed decisions on my system locally
Okay.
and just had a couple questions. Number one, is it possible to install the repo locally? And then number two, I have version 9.7 installed locally. So when 9.11 comes out, do I need to uninstall, reinstall, or is there an update that I can run?
Okay, so to answer your first question, you wouldn't be able to install the repo locally on the exact same machine. You could install it on like a virtual machine, so you have a different thing running, but you can't install both the decisions application and the repo on the exact same machine. It,
Got you.
yeah.
Okay.
As far as your second question, yes, there is an update button. As soon as you open the installer and it recognizes that an application's been installed, it gives you four options. One of them is to perform a restart. One of them is to update the settings XML. Another one is to remove decisions, and the other one is to update decisions.
I see. Okay.
Yep. As long as it is a minor version to minor version, you can run that update. So if you're going from like 9.3 to 9.7, you can run it. 9.7 to 9.8, you can run it. If you're doing major version updates, our documentation calls out which versions you can do that with and which you cannot.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
And I do want to mention, there is no problem going from 9.7 to 9.11, but keep in mind that if you are running an update, that's sometimes our .NET versions update as well for higher versions of Decisions. And if you don't have the highest version of .NET installed, Decisions is going to fail.
Okay.
Yep,
Oh,
documentation calls out again exactly which versions you need for which. It has a whole number range and which versions work for which. It's very easy to read. So
okay.
yeah. But
Awesome.
yes, just click the update button. You can even choose if you want to change some of the settings on update or if you just want to keep them the same.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Sure thing. Cool, cool. Pardon me all for a moment because I think my laptop kind of froze here, which means I can't actually see if you guys are putting any questions in. So pardon me for just a moment while I get that rolling. Okay, let's see. Can you all still see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Yep. And I see we don't have any questions. Well, good to know. Okay. Well, we've not had anyone else join for the past 20 minutes, and we've not had any other Q&A questions. So I think it is fair to call this one a day. I appreciate you all for coming. I'll be back leading this on Wednesday, and Look forward to seeing you all. Once again, take time to visit Thursdays where Josh is going to give a presentation on the AI roadmap coming up. So, have a great day, y'all. I'll see you later.
Thanks, guys.